Everybody wants to know how we made a hobbit hole. So here's a video breaking down how we converted our basement into a magical place to make art. The room was originally our basement here in Franklin, Tennessee. It was a great room with all my toys and comics and stuff, but one day we found black mold in the closet. It was a health hazard. The entire room had to be stripped down and bleached. My good friend Ron always joked that I was a hobbit because I'm such an introvert and always happy just staying home and painting. So he drew up some plans to turn my basement into a bona fide hobbit hole. Drawing inspiration from the movies, he convinced me that we could make this happen with just a bit of creativity and a lot of paint. He drew up the most amazing designs and I honestly couldn't say no. Within weeks, he and his son Steven had already built out the main framing of the bookshelf, then the fireplace, and he designed a circular design to make our rectangular window look like a real hobbit window. Then the arches came in. It was way too expensive for real wood, so Ron found a company that made foam wood to order. Slowly, this old basement was becoming a hobbit hole. While the bookshelf construction was coming along, I wanted to add a little flair to the circular arch framing it, so I began drawing shapes from various stencils that I had. Ron lent me a Dremel, and every morning I would carve out a little more of the design into the wood. The flooring came in, and before we laid it down, Ron decided to christen the room with the first lines from my favorite book. The bamboo floor was easily the most expensive part of the project, but totally worth it. At the local home improvement store, I found some little details that we added to the layout. Ron and Steven inserted some into the foam pillars. Panel vinyl inserts were added to the walls throughout. Then my Dutch doors came in and we prepared the room for painting. When the entire room was primered, we began painting everything by hand. My son and I enjoyed painting the pillars. Ron brought in a local artist named Terry Lynn Fisher. She specialized in hand-painted wood grain. For the next week or two, she created a faux wood look that is absolutely realistic. Afterwards, the doors were painted green, and Terry Lynn added some aging to them with her paintbrush. Then Ron began creating the hearth with hand-picked rocks and a small gas fireplace. Outside, the theme continued with the hand-picked rocks, and soon, rock by rock, it was finished. The hobbit hole was ready to be decorated. And the first and most important item was a new drafting table. I'd had my original art table since I was in college. It was 30 years old, and I was due to get a new one. Then I found a local Amish woodmaker who could work for my own designs to create custom desk and cabinets for my art and supplies. Filling the bookshelf was fun, but I soon realized I needed to start investing into some nice prose books. I found some chairs and an old trunk at a local thrift store. Working from a drawing I did, Ron created a coat rack and a place for my shoes. I even designed some griffins for the top that Ron carved out. A few Hobbit Hole housewarming gifts from friends of replica Lord of the Rings props, and the room was complete. It's been 7 years since my friend Ron offered to help me create the Hobbit Hole. He and his son Steven designed and built everything for their introverted friend to give him a place he could create art and feel comfortable, donating their time and skills for months because they had a talent that they could use to help a friend. This is something I would have never dreamed I could own, much less afford, but because of Ron and Steven's kindness, every morning I get to wake up and enter a magical place where my mind can roam free and anything can happen. A place where I can feel like me.